Hi, this is Bob Tripathi, and in this video, what we're gonna see is I talked to Mike Petsas, who is the SVP at Implementation Engineers, and the question we asked him is what are some of the building blocks of digital marketing? So take a listen, hear what he has to say because there are some great insights. Over to you.
This question is for you, Bob. Like, what are some of the building blocks that you put in place for implementation.com when you were building their digital marketing strategy?
So the interesting thing is the preconceived notions I had about what the building blocks were, you do one thing and it's great. Then you realize there are many tactics that are required to have an effective marketing strategy and implementation. So my lack of knowledge luckily was supplemented by Bob, because we would have done just one thing expecting good results. And we, in fact, before he came on board, we did. And there was no results, simply send emails and you hope you get something back. And we found you have to do other things to actually bring a lead in. And,
and digital marketing is so organic, it just keeps growing and growing. So you need the design aspect, the new content aspect, the website aspect. So can you speak to that a little bit, Bob?
Yeah, so actually Mike hit the nail, it's classic, right? And Steve Jobs said it. If you ask the customer what they want, they don't know, and
they don't know exactly what they need until you're in the mix of it.
Yes, so basically you have to come in. So what we try to do, as you know, Debbie, because you produce so much of our content, is we try to educate, like webinars like this or podcasts like this. We try to educate folks. So, when we started discussing with Mike initially with what the problem areas were, we were looking at things like, okay, where is the business and where it should be going, and not at a tactical level. And, then based on your business goals and what you want the company to be in the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, then you can actually devise a plan. So most people try to go very tactic happy, but instead if you look at objectives and goals and then backtrack it, reverse engineer it, that's the way the approach I took with Mike when we started discussing about it. And, exactly right. So most of the times you think it's, we are spending money on paid search or paid advertising, so we need to do better. But sometimes people don't know that it's not that you need to do. You need to build up your organic presence. You need to build up your content so your reliance on paid advertising is less. So essentially that's what Mike is trying to refer to. But, since you asked about this, and we went over this yesterday while we were prepping for this, this is some of the building blocks that you start with. At the very foundation is your infrastructure, like your automation platforms, if you have it. If you are in a B2B lead gen model, then your automation platform is very critical, and if you go on Google, the most common question is, which is the best automation platform? Should I choose HubSpot or Marketo, right? Or whatever the other smaller vendors are, or Eloqua in some cases. So infrastructure is critical. Once you have that, then the second piece of digital marketing is what we like to call it the tactical side of it. Your search, your social, your email, things like that. And then after that, we worked with Mike and his team to think of a lead nurturing and a lead generation campaign. See, in B2B, it's all about lead nurturing, right? And then at the end of the day, the goal for implementation engineer was not to do some tactics and some bells and whistles with some new website, but it was to align with sales and marketing to close more deals and generate more leads. So these are some of the building blocks that we see in B2B. Mike, am I on? Right? Are you on target on this?
Yeah, correct. And actually, the first building block that we had was the sales and marketing alignment. So we got together to make sure we were on the same page, because, if we're doing marketing activities and sales isn't aligned, they're the ones that are going to go out and try to bring the customers in. So that was really important for the approach, was us sitting to get together with the sales team and figuring out, what are we going to do as a company? Where are we going? Where is our growth going to be? Where are we going to target? And so that messaging was important right from the start. And that's really the first thing that we did.
Okay, so one of the first things that Bob and Mike looked at was their audience for implementation engineers. And so they came up with some marketing personas, which included in their industry the different people who might recommend them, do research about them, and then people who might approve the contracts, and then the decision makers. So you want to talk a little bit about that, you guys?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna start. So we talked about traditionally, you know, some of the things that we would do in our tactics, which I think is common. This is not unique to us. It was just throughout the industry. You know, you go to the decision maker, and that's where you spend your time. You go and you set a meeting with a decision maker. You want that person to be the approver, right? You don't have the recommenders in this traditional model. So 20, 30 years ago, that was true. One person made all the decisions for the companies that you were selling into. Digital is quite a bit different, and the world is changing, where we do have people that influence decisions. And that's where Bob and I think, Bob, you put a lot of effort into us thinking about who are we actually selling to and who's going to recommend and approve projects that we're presenting.
Yeah, it's so true, right? Because what traditionally everyone starts thinking is the top-down approach, right? You hit the CEO, you hit the COO, you hit the CMO, and they're gonna make all the decisions, which is great. But you know, in many cases, what happens is you have to influence folks at the managerial level, at a specialist level, which are known as the recommenders or influencers, right? Because many times, you know, like for example, in our world, in the digital marketing world, a lot of people are looking for a digital marketing agency or a company. And it usually, it's not the role of a CEO, but he assigns that project to somebody that, hey, we need somebody to work with, right? More or less. And everyone influences it, you know, and everybody listens to it. And what you just said earlier was it was different in 60s and 70s, right? The workplace has changed. The workplace has become more collaborative than what it was 40 years back. So everyone's opinion counts, obviously. So that means all the decisions are made by 5 or 6 stakeholders. So your job as a marketer is to look who those 5, 6 stakeholders are across the spectrum and try to create marketing tactics, strategies, targeting to those 5, 6 stakeholders, whoever they are. And so, yeah, as Mike mentioned, that is the first thing we did. Is not just pull out a list of all CEOs, but actually looked at who these are, and based on that, you know, we ended up building the website. The screen that you're showing right now, this is the old website, and then based on the new personas, we ended up building the website, of course, but even making sure what each element is, and on the website too.
All right, hope you liked that answer. But you know, go to my site, it's babtripathi.com, and I have tons of videos, articles, ebooks, guides, and all of those kind of fun stuff all around digital marketing. So take a look, and if not, just email me directly at babtripathi.com. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.